Hello, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Adrielle, and I am currently narrating a story of my life dating back from January 2016. In a previous episode, I talked about the month of June, and I ended the episode talking about Esther and Ruth coming into my apartment so we can have this kumbaya discussion, basically. And so in this episode, I'm going to talk about what happened, and yeah, so here it goes. So Ruth shows up at 6 p.m., but I want to backtrack a little bit before Ruth showed up. It was just me and Esther in the apartment, and we're just talking and talking about what the discussion will be about and stuff like this, talking. Anyways, Ruth comes in at 6 p.m. She comes in with flowers. She gave me flowers because, that day was Father's Day and my father was no longer alive. She brought food as well. So here's the thing with Ruth. Ruth was someone who liked to cook, and so she brought like sausage rolls and stuff like that, and meat pie. And so yeah, she brought it for me, and she brought flowers as well. And yeah, so she comes into the couch. She sits down. Now, mind you, she doesn't know what this whole discussion is about. I didn't tell her anything. So she sits down and I'm like, okay. I turn to Esther. I'm like, Esther, like, you gonna, start this thing off? And this is what Esther says to me. She's like, oh no, this is between both of y'all. Mm-mm. I have nothing to do with it. Now I was shocked because, mind you, this was Esther's idea. So I say to Esther, I'm like, Esther, you're not gonna mediate the situation? She was like, oh no, this is between both of y'all. It has nothing to do with me. This is what she does, y'all. She turns her body like this. She puts her hand at the back of her head and she slouches like this. So now I'm confused, y'all, because this was Esther's idea, like I said. If it was just between me and Ruth, then why was Esther there? I could have gone to Ruth's apartment, Ruth could have came to my apartment, or me and Ruth could have had a discussion on the phone. Why are you here, Esther? So it just kind of felt like she switched up on me. So I said, okay. So I turned to Ruth. Now, mind you, Ruth doesn't know what's going on. Well, at the time, I believe that Ruth didn't know what was going on because I didn't tell her what the purpose of the discussion was. Ruth is in the middle, Esther's on that side, I'm at this side at the end. So I turn to Ruth. So I start talking. Once I started talking, I remember turning to Esther because Esther was on that side. I turned to Esther, y'all. Esther was on the couch like this and she was smiling. She was like, so I'm looking at Esther and I'm seeing her smile. I'm like, oh, she wants to be entertained. Now, mind you, in this moment, I'm still trying to have this discussion with Ruth, and Ruth didn't know what the discussion was about. Once I saw Esther and she was smiling, I realized she wanted to be entertained. I wasn't thinking on the entertainment part. I was thinking, why is she switching up? Because remember, y'all, this was her idea. I didn't want to have this discussion. So the thought of what is Esther doing? Why she's acting funny? But now when I look back at it, I can say, oh, that whole discussion, y'all, it was a setup. It was a setup. It was a scheme set by Esther to be entertained. It wasn't about, oh, we are friends. Let's be all friendly and it wasn't that. It wasn't about friendship, y'all. It really wasn't. It was about her wanting to be entertained and wanting to see me and Ruth be at odds with one another. Now, at the time, I wasn't thinking that. I was just thinking, why is she switching up? So I start the conversation with Ruth, like, hey, Ruth, back in May, Esther and I had a discussion about, my time at your apartment, and there were things that were revealed, and I just talked a little bit about it. Now, mind you, I wasn't prepared to like start it off or anything. So my voice was really cracky. And that's the thing with me. When I'm nervous to talk, my voice gets cracky. So I was getting very cracky, and my voice was also pitchy as well. So the pitch of my voice was increasing, but it was because I was nervous. But she probably may have seen it as me being kind of like annoyed or mad, but really I was just being nervous throughout the conversation. So I was just basically telling her, like, we had a discussion, things were revealed about the time I was staying with you, this and that. Why did you feel the need to go to friend A, go to Naomi? Like, why couldn't you just have the discussion with me? And as I'm having this talk, I see her face, y'all. She seemed very nervous. She seemed very nervous. She wasn't expecting, me to come with her with that discussion. Because, like I said, y'all, me and Ruth were good. That was the reason why I didn't want to have the discussion to begin with. I felt like friend A and Naomi were the ones who were in her ear. They were no longer in her ear because I got my own place. Let's just let this be. Esther wanted to have this discussion just for her to switch up on me. So I'm looking at Ruth's face. She seems nervous. She wasn't expecting me to come at her with the discussion. So I finished what I said, and then she says, "Okay, Adriel, if I offended you, if I made you feel some type of way, I apologize." Now, that wasn't what I expected. I was expecting her to say, well, Adriel, the reason why I went to friend A, the reason why I went to Naomi, the reason why I went to Esther is because this, and that. I wasn't expecting her to say, okay, if you feel some type of way, sorry. So that let me know, y'all, that she'd even want to have a discussion. Like that discussion about me staying with her, she'd even want to have it. Now, mind you, I'd even want to have it either because I felt like it was really in the past. So at this point, I'm kind of feeling silly because this whole thing was all for nothing. And Esther is smiling on the couch. So I'm just like, you don't have anything to say? She was like, Adriel, if I offended you, if I'm sorry. So now I'm kind of confused. Like, what was the whole point of this whole discussion? The next thing you know, Ruth starts breaking down in tears. And I'm like, ooh, what? So, mind you, Ruth is in the middle. Esther's on the long section on the other side. I'm here. So I leave my side to get closer to Ruth to find out why she's crying. So I say to her, I was like, Ruth, what's going on? Did I offend you? So, like, remember what I said that my voice was pitchy and cracky? So she probably thought I was angry. I'm like, listen, I'm not angry. Like, sometimes when I say stuff, it kind of comes off like, don't be mad. Like, don't be mad at what I'm saying and stuff like that. She just started crying. So she was like, Adriel, it's not about what you said. It's not about what you said. Like, so I said, so what happened? She was like, you guys don't know what I'm going through. You guys don't know what I'm going through. So now, mind you, I'm embracing Ruth as I'm having this discussion with her. Esther is on the couch. Y'all, looking back, let me not even say what I want to say about Esther. But Esther was on the couch, y'all. Like, she was still like this. She sees Ruth crying and she's just frowning. She was like her face was just frowning like this. Like why are you crying? That type of face. Now here's the thing about Esther. If you cry in front of her, she's not gonna pay you dust. Okay? That's just what it is. If you cry in front of Esther, she is not going to pay you dust. She's not gonna comfort you. She's not gonna embrace you. That's just what it is. But what got to me was her frowning. It's like, girl, our friend is crying. Why are you just like this frowning? Like like something serious is going on with her. So I'm looking at Esther trying to get her to get involved into this because Ruth is not saying why she's crying. But Esther, Anyways, Esther was still like this, frowning, whatever. So I'm like, Ruth, what is going on? Then she was like, my aunt. I'm like, Ruth, what happened to your aunt? That's when she said that. She said, my aunt died last week. Y'all, the way I fell back on the couch, I fell back, I fell back, and I just put my hand over my face because I was in shock. I was like, what? She says, yes, y'all. She said her aunt died. So that was Sunday. That was Father's Day Sunday. Her aunt died on Tuesday. And that she said she's just been going through so much. I'm like, Ruth, I'm so sorry. I'm so, so sorry for your loss. Now, at this time, Esther was no longer Esther Esther was no longer doing that and frowning. That's when she started to like, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow. Because in that moment, to be honest, y'all, the discussion about why did you tell Brandy? Why did you tell Naomi? Why did like that meant nothing. She had just lost Naomi, y'all. Naomi died. So it was like, I don't know. I won't say I kind of felt guilty for having the discussion, but I just felt like the discussion really didn't mean anything, y'all. It really didn't. So we just started talking, and she told me that Naomi actually was sick. She had been battling the sickness for a while, and it got really aggressive, y'all. It got really aggressive. She was in the hospital, and she died in the hospital. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I am so sorry for your loss. And I kind of felt some type of way because y'all, my dad died, in January. So to hear about Naomi dying, I'm like, man, this is messed up. This is messed up. Regardless, and also too, regardless of how Naomi treated me, regardless of what she did, I was really sad about it because I knew Ruth was really close with Naomi, and it was just a sad situation. So I felt really down about it. So yeah, we were just trying to comfort her and everything. Yeah. So later on, we started talking about different things because I feel like she didn't want to keep talking about that, and I understand too because even when my dad died, I didn't want to keep like harping on his passing. So we just started talking about other things. That was when y'all Esther. Goodness, that was when Esther started talking to me about about the whole job thing that I should be doing something and how I should look into like interior design. She was like, AJ, you like to organize, so you should get into that. Anyways, so Ruth and Esther were talking about how I should get into interior design. And another thing they said was that they had a discussion about it. Like, yeah, we were talking about it and we felt like you should get into like interior designing or organizing. You like to organize, so you should get into that. I was like, yeah, I like to organize, but I don't know if I want to do that as like a job or anything. So my thing is like, okay, you guys are keep having discussions about me. Now that should have been that those discussions, back then they were red flags, but at the time I didn't see it as a red flag. At the time I'm like, what is going on? Cuz like I said, they like to paint this picture of we're talking about you because we care about you. Anyways, the conversation went over to Esther asking me about my neighbors. Now, mind you, I did talk about my neighbors to Esther back in May. She told me to pray about it. So before I talk about what I said to them about my neighbors, yeah, I do want to mention as of the beginning of June up until that day, which was Father's Day, I did not hear anything from apartment 14. That place was super quiet. I didn't hear a television noise. I didn't hear footsteps. I didn't hear nothing. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, they probably went on vacation. Okay. So when Ruth was asking me, hey, how about your neighbors? Are they still acting up? I remember looking through the balcony to see if the light was on or off. It was off. So I told them, I'm like, hey, I think they're on vacation because I haven't heard a word from them. So I'm like, so I started to, catch Ruth up about my neighbors. Like, yeah, these people act super crazy. The girlfriend, she's just acting wild, always screaming, always yelling. So, anyways, eventually they left around 10 something, right? I want to say 10 o'clock. They left like 10 o'clock. They leave, and I'm back in the apartment. I'm kind of like getting ready for the night. Yeah, I go into my bathroom to use the bathroom. I start hearing music blasting from apartment 14. I said, oh my goodness. It's crazy how I just had a discussion about them. I mean, apartment 14, Lisa and Sam, right? I just had a discussion about them with Esther and Ruth. And now they're blasting music. So in my head, I'm like, okay, they're back. They're back from whatever vacation they went on because yeah, so they were blasting music. Sam was singing on the top to the top of his lungs. I'm like, yo, dude. Now mind you, it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So that happens, and then up until the end of June, y'all, um, Lisa and Sam, they're at each other's throats. Well, really, Lisa's the one that's at Sam's throat. And yeah, so that was the end of the discussion, y'all. The discussion really wasn't a discussion. We really didn't achieve anything. Found out that Naomi had died. Um, Esther was weird or was weirding me out because it felt like she switched up on me and she was smiling as I was having this conversation or having the discussion with Ruth. And looking back, y'all, it was weird, but it wasn't weird to the point where I started to look at her differently. I should have. And to be honest, looking back of what Esther did when she said, "Oh no, this is between both of you," and her smiling as I'm trying to have this confrontation with Ruth, that should have let me know that Esther was a troublemaker. Like, y'all, that discussion was a setup. She wanted me and Ruth to beef. She wanted us to be at odds. And I didn't see it back then until later on. Until later on, that's when Esther really showed her true colors. I mean, she did show her true colors when I was living with her for those 16 days, but I really got to see her true colors afterwards. And yeah, yeah. So, anyways, that was what happened with the discussion. In the next episode, I'm going to wrap up the month of June and then talk about July. So, if you are liking an unlikely story, please like, comment, subscribe. Also, please share my videos as well. And also, please click the notification bell too. And until next time, y'all. Bye.